Thanks, Mridu. Thanks for the introductions. I have a PowerPoint presentation, so can somebody fix that PowerPoint presentation? So we'll start with a small preamble. Is it on the stage? The PowerPoint, please. Yeah, thank you very much. So this is the panel discussion. A very important subject, according to me, should have been pushed up a little earlier in the day, but better late than never. A very esteemed list of panelists here on the dais with me. But before we start, I just wanted to give a quick overview to the audience as to what are we looking at. And the reason I go back to the Indian exhibition industry, which is just about 40 years old, started in 1975, was the first recorded exhibition in Mumbai, industrial B2B exhibition, and 1976 I would really say for Delhi. And in those days, it used to take 45 days pre-event to build an exhibition. So 45 days to build an exhibition, and in those days there were no separate stand contractors. The exhibition organizer was the stand contractor, and there were a huge number of carpenters who were hired and brought into Mumbai and Delhi to construct these stands. SIMA system was the first prefabricated, fast developed shell scheme that came in the year 1983. It also moved to Mumbai in 1985. I think N.K. Kapoor was the person who brought in the SIMA. Didn't bring in, he developed it locally. In 1990, SIMA was upgraded with laminated panels, I think thanks to Pavilion and Interiors. And in 1993, the Octonorm system was brought into the country. Maxima also came in about 15 years back. And we see that, except for aesthetic changes in the stand construction using these prefabricated Octonorm systems, very little less has changed in the last 27 to 32 years. But because the world has grown at a faster pace, there are several challenges that confront the exhibition industry, and to these challenges I direct your attention, because I'm sure many of you will empathize or sympathize with both the stand contractors and the exhibition organizers on these points. That is, high cost of venue or lack of dates forcing exhibition organizers to reduce the build-up time. There are no performance guarantees, no delivery time from either side. There's always an issue of construction and materials and lighting quality. We have to keep on running from pillar to post when we have to organize the various aspects of setting up an exhibition. We don't have any in-between solutions, and of course the unforeseen challenges. I think the same hall, we go there, we mark it again for the same show using the same stand contractor, and the same problem again comes, that the exhibition is not fitting inside. There is some error in the design to the execution. So getting the exhibition ready for the inauguration is one of the biggest challenges. Full night we have worked. The work has still not got over. The inauguration is also taking place and the work is still going on. And at 9:30 a.m., the exhibitors come and they have various issues, face their names, this, that, this is not correct, light is not correct, this is not correct. And we all know that, exhibitors have the right to be wrong in India. So we give them that kind of a long leash. But all of us realize that getting the dates, sorry, I'm speaking ahead and this slide is not moving. Getting dates and a major exhibition center is no longer a luxury. Planning 2 or 3 years in advance does not guarantee a dates of our choice. So what is our industry standard? You remember 40 years back, 45 days. We're down to 2 days for setup of an exhibition. Same day dismantling for medium-sized shows. For bigger shows, maybe 3 days setup and 1 day dismantling. Some even mega shows like ITME, I think they have longer setup times and longer dismantling times. But this luxury is not available to all the shows across the board. And exhibition organizers are now resorting to hiring 2 contractors or 3 contractors to try and speed up. So this panel over here is to try and figure out faster turnaround of exhibition displays. So we have now changed. We have Barish One who talked about internet and the way things are changing. So is this change also being noticed in this 27, 30-year-old process? So this is what we would be talking about, and what are the suggestions that we could get esteemed panel to make this faster turnaround happen. So I would now like to call upon Praveen from FICCI. Praveen from FICCI. FICCI, he is an organization that has increased its focus on trade fairs only in 2002, but has now rated one of the top organizers. And you're doing exhibitions in India and also some overseas. So what would be your take and ideas on this?
Thank you, Ashish. I'll start with a very interesting quotation which was done by Albert Einstein. If you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. So basically, we need to bring that magnitude change in the thought process. Now, if you talk about faster turnaround of the exhibition using latest technology and techniques, relating to that quotation, I would say, first of all, exhibition industry for me is an on-site execution wherein manpower, it's a manpower intensive, and human interface is basically critical to success. Yes, technology, techniques will play a very important role, but they play to strengthen the efforts of the manpower which is involved. Now, if you dwell upon the challenges which we all face today, first of all, the rentals have gone up, the low budgets. So what we are all adhering is limit your time for construction, fabrication, make 0 dismantling days. So time becomes the critical essence. But what we should realize is that once it's on floor, once it's on ground, it's one team, be it the exhibition contractor or the exhibition organizer. Because if the exhibition contractor fails, the organizer fails, and in turn the exhibition suffers and your exhibitors are furious. So it's very important that we have detailed, close meetings between the project heads, the operations teams, the exhibition contractor team leads, so that there is complete synchronization of all the points. As far as technology is concerned, I have one more remark to make here, that the hall layout designs which are done by the exhibition contracting agencies, they have to be done absolutely clear in terms of what are the dimensions, where the exit markings, what are the doors, the pillars. The layout has to be completely in accordance to what is there on ground. Because otherwise it becomes a point of adaptation on site and on ground. And this all happens because of lack of clear communication and instructions which are issued from both sides. The other thing is, a lot of times we all do not adhere to the venue height guidelines. And the changes are made at the last minute, and the stall fabricators are told to do the designing changes and things like that. One other critical issue which I have faced over the period of time is the lack of trained manpower. Now, they don't understand, they will never know what we are going through, what the commitment levels to the exhibitors are from the exhibition organizing agency perspective. And then the execution becomes the major bone of contention. So for that, we should have dedicated specific teams who are working on the entire, interaction, on the entire execution part, and a single point of contact is created. But the team should have specific point heads, that for an X activity, we are not running after a single person who's becoming the specific point of contact. And the timeline should be laid out. Ashish, you had requested that, what is the difference between international, when we organize international exhibitions and the national exhibitions. Tracker, they make an online tracker which is continuously tracked. Unlike here, we are fighting the last minute hassles, the last minute chaos. Before the exhibition inauguration, the people, the team from both sides, we are struggling with, last minute firefighting exercise. When we do it internationally, fortunately or unfortunately, we have never faced those hassles in terms of execution part. Before 6 p.m. a day before, the entire thing has been put to place. There is no last minute firefighting, and I think the tracker maintenance is a very important point which can be followed upon. The other thing which I've seen internationally is prefabricated structures. The prefabricated structures basically bring down the time, and it actually helps in basically creating fast structures in a limited time frame. Other thing is, my request to my colleagues and teams is also that let's not propose complex structures. Even I request the stall fabricators who do, please do not propose any complex structures to the exhibition, exhibitors, because while they all look nice, but it becomes very, very difficult to execute, and they're the most time consuming. I wouldn't name an exhibition, but it was an exhibition which FICCI was executing for Government of India. And one of the state governments had ordered a design to an exhibition, stall fabrication agency. And the event was inaugurated. We had to panel cover it because the work was still on. The second day opened up, the work was still on. The work got complete only towards the end of the second day. So they had just practically the last day to basically showcase what they wanted to do. Now, was it that what they're really looking at? The third thing is that internationally I've seen that time penalty clauses also. That we should adhere to time, and that becomes the time, that becomes the essence of the entire execution contract, if we may say so. The other thing, as far as technology is concerned, we should try and use the latest communication technologies, create groups, try and communicate at one mode so that it becomes faster and in terms of execution. So what my sum and substance of the entire thing is here, that we should try and channelize the things as simpler as we can and use the technology to the advantage of, holding the entire thing. The other example which immediately comes to my mind is the cleaning exercise which we do. Now, we are still depending on the manpower in terms of cleaning the aisles at the last minute, putting the entire cleaning exercise into practice. We should use a combination of man and machine. A combination of man and machine would really make a lot of difference, because cleaning is an important activity, and we all do it only once the entire job is done. So that, since it's being put to the end, that's the most crucial thing that we are fighting at the last minute. That's all which I have to make. Thank you.
Yeah, I think very relevant points. Can I now pass the baton to Mr. Binu of Meroform to talk to us about what can be done to speed up the setup and dismantling? You want to make a presentation?
If it is coming.
There is one more presentation by, excuse me, technical team. Can you?
Thank you, Ashish. Let them put it on.
Okay.
So I have been wondering for the last several days what this subject means. My first thought was that Ashish is trying to trap me. Currently I am taking 2 days to do his exhibition. So he's going to say, Mr. Binu, can you do it in 4 hours? That's the first thought I had.
Okay. 36 hours. 36.
36 hours.
Not
Yeah,
40.
possible. 36 hours.
Yeah.
So I thought that let us look at it in a holistic manner. What all happened, what changed, and what improvements can be made. On a 360-degree perspective of starting from the design brief to data and all those things, how over the years it has changed. You said 45 days for the exhibition? No,
1975.
It was 75 days.
75 days.
Yeah, if I did not start something on IITF on September 15th, we thought it is a disaster. September 30th, last minute. If I start on October 1st, I cannot finish. 14th November is inauguration. Then also I am working on 14th November till 9 a.m. The Prime Minister is coming. That was the scene. Now, what got changed? Can I have the presentation, please?
Hello, technical? Yes, it's ready.
Okay, this is the subject. Next slide, please. Can I go there? I cannot see it from here. I'll finish it in 5 minutes. That's what Ashish had told me. What is the process? How can we fasten up? So earlier we were on face-to-face basis, telephone, calling this thing. Now technologies have come as such as cloud, which we keep all the database in the cloud, and then we do the marketing and everything from the this particular process. Next slide, please. Do I have? Now, after the brief, when you tell me to do something, what Mr. Mittal said, we are depending on AutoCAD, which was a cumbersome technology, this thing. We are still using AutoCAD. It takes a lot of time, 3D Max, Photoshop, etc. Then it changed. Things like SketchUp came, InDesign came, SolidWorks, Pro E, Rhino, etc. Which changed the entire process of designing, or fastened up the process. Especially SketchUp, you can immediately show something. Next slide. Communication. Earlier, we were going to somewhere to present a design. It took a lot of time. I used to do one pavilion for Italy long time back. It took me days. I used to send a fax. I used to wait for this thing. Then the drawings will come in courier. It used to take 7 days, 8 days for a drawing to come back from Italy. Now we do video conference. We are on Skype. We are on FaceTime. We are on WhatsApp. Ashish yesterday created a group, WhatsApp group for this panel. We are communicating continuously. Change. The system change is all faster now. Registration, for you organizers, this is one of the main things. So now we have got, earlier it was all writing, it took a lot of time to develop something and to give a report to the organizer who visited, what is this. Now it is all network computers, it is on cloud for registration, then you can access control, you can do with RFID. We just recently did in Vibrant Gujarat. There were many categories, silver, gold, blue, red, etc. Everything worked seamlessly using RFID technology, and we got the organizer got the feedback immediately. Next. Physical infrastructure. It has changed. You talked about SIMA. Yes, SIMA was the first. Then Octonom came. Then Mero, we call it R8. Then we developed new systems, which probably many of you are not aware. We developed R8 Plus, which is you called it Maxima. So 4D structure, which is for heavy structures. We create double-story structures in systems. It's changed. There is no welding. There is no danger. It is statistically calculated how much load it will take, etc., etc. So these things change, and it fastened up the entire thing. Next. Okay, people still want custom-built walls. We have a method for doing it. It is simple. We call it honeycomb panels connected. It is lighter, it is eco-friendly, we can use it several times. So this process also got changed. Next one. We had traditional carpenters coming and doing work at site. It is changed. We do it in the modern workshop. All the machines which you see here, CNC control, it is more accurate. Lamination, everything is done on the panels. Next one, please. Painting. Painting also, hardly, you may be seeing some painting at site, but a lot of the work is done in modern paint houses, better finish, but quicker this thing. Even if it's a winter time, earlier they say, oh, it's winter, it will not dry, I cannot paint. No. Now everything is in a paint booth. It happens so fast. We are not dependent on climate. Next one. Custom walls. People still want very large custom walls, difficult to build, especially for exhibitions like Auto Expo. We use a lot of fabric now. This is one of the shows which happened downstairs, Hyundai, on the right side. Most of the walls were fabric. There was no painting at site. It happened quite nicely, quickly, and it was a delight. Next one. Printing. We had normal printing. Now we have got very large format printing, and also it is eco-friendly. The media, everything is eco-friendly, which we can send to any country. So things change, and things became faster. And even what to print, it comes on mail. You are not sending any CD or anything, it comes on mail. There's various, I'm forgetting, SendSpace or WeTransfer, etc. We download it, do the edit, talk to them on phone, and overnight the printing is done. Next one. Lighting. Previously we are all GLS lamps. We need so many generators. Power, the power load was huge when we are doing Tata in automobiles. We used to take probably 1,800. I don't remember that exact value. But once we change the lighting, LED lights, and next year when we send the application form, at that time I think CI, Mr. Rajiv Sinha called up, Mr. Binu, you are making some mistake. You are now consuming 1/3 of the lighting only. How? I said, sir, it has changed. Over 2 years, it has changed. And we have track lights. You can change it. You can put additional one. So these investments have shortened the process and the entire net result. Next. Earlier, we had physical displays. What we see here is all physical displays. Now, physical display is giving way to LED panels and dynamic display. We are writing scenario, okay? Change it. Tomorrow, I want something else there because I am going to change that car and I am going to put another car there. Easy. Just go to the computer, change it, it happens. So this process also changed a lot. Next. Again, conventional display, there was a method of communicating. After all, what is exhibitions doing? Exhibition is just a method of communication. It's a marketing tool for communication only. Now, there are a lot of technologies which has come. Interactive terminals, augmented reality, virtual reality, projection mapping, etc., etc. You can change it in between. It's more interactive. Its turnaround time is quicker. Once you have the software, the turnaround time is quicker. I am doing Make in India here. You want a small change. I want to add one more line. Now, I'm not changing a panel. I'm just going to the computer and changing it. Next one. Logistics, storage of materials, etc. Forklifts. Rogers has it for 30 years. Scaffolding, aluminum scaffolding. It's not steel scaffolding which can fall. It's aluminum, it's lighter, it's safer. Cherry pickers, etc., etc. This has all made this on-site production much faster. Next one. Outdoor structures. The left side Volvo, we made it conventional. Steel construction. On the right side, it is IPL lounge in the just going on this current IPL. This is a double-story structure. Very safe, quick to make, no welding. It can take so much load, calculated, structural certificates are available. It can withstand so much wind load. Akshay Kumar was sitting there. Nita Ambani was sitting there, no issue. So the difference in cost and the production time is much lesser now using this technology. And also the cost. Cost is down. Next. Okay, what we need is that, when things get delayed, either our workers or whoever, they have been working for so many hours, 16 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours. After they are zombies. This is what happens actually, what Mr. Mittal said.
So what is needed? You read out the three to me.
For reducing that fatigue, we need well-lit halls, proper ventilation, access for refreshment, etc., etc. So let us create an environment where human fatigue is less and the human errors are less. This is a change. Now we can discuss what can be made faster. Can Ashish get his stall in 4 hours? Let us discuss.
No, not 4 hours. But I will come back to the trapping to you later on. I have not left you so easily. So I'll bring the mic to Sujit. Sujit does stand construction, and I'm very negatively biased against stand construction people. Because if I spend sleepless nights on the night before the opening, is because the specialized stand contracting company, they don't owe any allegiance to me, and their client is my exhibitor. And if I fire this stand contractor for doing anything, he says, मैं तुम्हारा complaint कर दूंगा उनको, आगे से उनके exhibition में नहीं आना चाहिए. So anyway, Sujit, so that's a very tough place I'm giving to you to start from.
Let me just try to put some light onto this. Good evening to everybody. I would like to congratulate the leadership of Shri Rakesh ji and the whole team to put this dedicated forum all together. A forum which actually I was looking forward to for quite some years. 20 years into this business has been a long time. And for the last 15 years, most of the fair I've been doing is international. And a few in India. Therefore, I'm biased. I'm biased in terms of very, very pertinent points, I would say. Some things really, really take the hell out of me in terms of when the moment I come back to my Indian office, I hear a lot of hammering, tuck, 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 the machines going across, things not happening the way it has to be planned and things like that. And when I go abroad, all those things are missing. Why? There's no dust. Seriously, there's no dust. There's no hammer which is knocking at things. And it's better equipment which really makes things faster. Almost everything is prefabricated. Believe you me, you see things to the T. People come and do it. And of course, much more equipments. Equipments to the tune of genies and scaffoldings, which is much more faster to move. You got motorized cranes moving things across and things like that. But between all of this, one basic thing is missing between India and abroad. I would say a dictator. You would say who's a dictator in between. Abroad, every project manager or an exhibition head or a person who's interacting with the client is almost a director, dictator to the tune. He would take a brief to the T, make sure the design is made as per the design he has finally approved to, make sure the production drawings are almost to the tune which has to be done, ensure that T point is also right. You make sure that production at the shop floor level also happens exactly the way he had planned with his client. Make sure the setup is in time to the T again. Make sure all the equipment required is there before the venue starts off, the move-in date starts off. And ensures one basic thing which you had just said is no harassment to the client. If the show begins on X day, X plus minus 1 day, the whole thing is ready. How does that happen? Yes, I do agree. Modernization is the most important factor. Technology was the most important factor. You just rightly said, I'm very, very proud to hear what Sir has been saying, Sir has been saying in terms of what technology he's brought into foray into India. I'm sure a lot of others would also follow. I would also follow a lot of things which you just talked about. We are a bit behind in terms of this. Definitely, dust is one thing which is hated at a setup. Dust is one thing I would say leads to everything wrong. As Praveen also said in the end, the dust is going to create the worst thing. And if I'm doing the setup, I do a lot of, shivering and cutting and sawing because the sizes were wrong. What will happen? But does it happen abroad? No. It does happen abroad also, I would say. But the difference is the equipment which they use has got a vacuum behind it. So whatever the dust is coming, it's taken right away. So therefore, no dust is spilled over or there's no problems around. You talked about the shop floor painting. Yes, we also do the paintings abroad, but all the painting is done with the roller painting. And before we do the painting, this all taped properly. So there's no second time doing of thing. Exactly the same words I would like to repeat. There's no second time. The moment they start from a point, they finish and then go to the second point. That's the, I would say, primary difference between all the people which we see here. We've got around 20 people working to, 20 points. There's no synergy between them. There's no harmony between them. If you ask anybody abroad, as Praveen also said, and you also know so often, everybody there knows exactly what he has to do. This time this has to open up. This time this has to move on. I'm so sorry. But all is under control of one person, the dictator, the project manager. And he makes sure that if he says 10 o'clock, show has to begin at 10 o'clock. Everything is ready a day before at 10 o'clock. And that's the way it has been. And I think all those things are required to be included into the Indian systems immediately. So that, these equipments, the modernization helps the faster, as you also said, that, time is getting shorter and shorter for build-up. Therefore, all those equipments and all is going to add on to reducing the time of delivery and ensuring that, things happen at the right time. I would like to finally add, I just got a bad throat, that it's very, very important that we all follow the world scenarios today, is also because the years which are coming in the next couple of years, Indian exhibition industry is just going to be multifold increasing. And if we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? Therefore, such forums is what is required to look forward and ensure that the exhibition hangars start having hangings across. But when you said complex structures should be avoided, I would say why complex should be avoided? What is required is to get more infrastructure right so that the complex structure can be made. That's where it's important. I do a lot of complex structure abroad. But I have a person who's doing it so professionally, it just happens easily and automatically.
What's stopping us from doing it here? I mean, my basic premise was,
I would say,
why dust? Why can't we control the dust?
We not do this. Yeah. Okay.
So therefore, what I'm saying is, it's required to modernize, and technology is a must.
Yeah, so I think that's point noted, that stand contracting companies must invest in high-tech equipment and, We have to do this now. So I'll now come back to SIAM. Debashish Majumdar, many years of experience, and I think the squeeze and the crunch and the challenges and everything must be thrown at this organization because they organize the largest show in India which draws the maximum number of visitors. So with this kind of huge, humongous numbers that you handle, what do you do? How do you do it there? What are your case studies or success stories, Debashish?
Thank you, Ashish. I would say it's the planning. If you plan it properly, you can execute it properly. The biggest challenge in India as exhibition organizer, we give in to the demands of the exhibitors. Exhibitors know they can get away with anything and everything. If they ask for it, the organizers will bed down and say, okay, do it. Because selling space in India is the biggest challenge for any exhibitions. Fortunately, for Auto Expo, it is not so.
Yes.
So we can probably put in more efforts in planning and do it properly and do the execution properly. If you plan it, say, about 2-3 months prior, where you want to reach, how do you want to reach there, and your steps, everything is taken clearly and it is conveyed to all the service partners properly, and things are easier. But I'm just giving an example where I think you are doing some stall. I will not name the company, but I think they were changing their design even the last date also. While
Every 6 hours.
yeah,
Cycle was 6 hours.
so that's where you can't help it. But I think there is some like BIEC. I think they are a very good. They have very good system of timings that you can walk from this time to this time, and beyond that, if you want to walk, you will have to pay more. So people restrict themselves, they plan accordingly and go about their walk in a very professional manner. And BIC is the only exhibition center, I must say, in India that there is a proper planning which is given and proper instruction given to all the organizers. Otherwise, everywhere what happens is we are so pressed for business that we give in to the demands of either the exhibitor or the organizer, or even both of us, compromise in some way or the other. So it's the proper planning and coordination between both the service partners and the organizers, as well as the proper information and communication system to the exhibitor, what they can do, what they cannot do, and what they shouldn't do. That should be properly briefed, and we can have a good exhibition.
Yeah, thank you, Debashish, for that. Plan it properly and execute it properly. So I now bring the baton to Mr. Vikram Soni of Parasat Studio Private Limited. Thank you for coming in at the last minute. I know you didn't have any preparation time, but a person of your experience should be able to guide us ex-tempore. So what would be your thought process on faster execution of exhibitions?
Hi everybody. I believe that modern luxury techniques and latest land construction is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. If we don't do it, we perish from the market. Because these days, the cost of the venue, the booking of the venue in advance, it has really skyrocketed. And in case the venue is available, there is a prior commitment in that venue. Like a hotel, if there's an event or exhibition in the hotel, and there is a wedding in the hotel, we get the hotel at 2 a.m. in the morning, 7 a.m. we have to hand over to the exhibitor or to the organizer. They have a rehearsal, at 9 a.m. is the main opening. And in that opening, there could be a VIP moment. So we have security also being taken over, and in the meanwhile, we have to do the entire thing, and we have to also adhere to the safety norms, like fire norms, electrical norms, and other safety norms. So what we do, like Mr. Ashish mentioned all the structures that came, SIMA, Octanorm, Maxima. Gone are the days where the pure SIMA or pure Octonom or pure Maxima is used in the stalls. These days, the organizers, they ask for a customized solution. Like if there are 200 booths in one hall, the exhibitor asks for a customized 200 booth solution. So we want the value-added components in that stall, so this stall looks different from the other stalls of other exhibitions. So what we do, if we simplify the design, we really lose on the creative edge. So what we do is we simplify the technique. Even with the most complicated design can be installed in time if we simplify the technique. So how do we simplify the technique? We train our people. Having more manpower is not the solution, but having skilled and trained manpower is the solution. We use modular techniques. We bring the things in modular system and we assemble at the site, rather than starting fresh from the site. Gone are the days, as Mr. Binu suggested, that 2 months before at IITF, we used to have the pavilions, we used to bring our carpenters, we used to bring a chunk of wood, even we used to bring our caterer along with us. And 200 people are working and they're having the lunches and dinners are being served at the site. So we have to look sleek, we have to look modular. Like this is a set which we created, in fact. So if this hall is not available, its hall is available in a gap of 8 hours, what we do? We can't simplify the design, sir, because that's a need of the hour. The world is our competitor. We have to make it look modular, and maybe there is a function after this function in this hall, we can have that design a back of that set design, and we can flip it. So these techniques using, skilled manpower, maybe more of electronic and digital components, the latest equipments, and the softwares that you mentioned, they will aid to make a more complicated design look simple as far as the technique is concerned. Let's not, devalue the merits of the design and make it less complicated and something like that. Let's make the best, maybe more complicated, more intricate, more creative, but simplify the technique. That is important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to go back to each of the panelists on whatever they said and now ask them a couple of pointed questions on what they said. For example, Mr. Praveen, he talked about detailed close meetings between the exhibition organizer and all the vendors, whether they're stand contractors or the others. So according to you, how many meetings and how early should this be happening? Is there some thumb rule that if you have a 1,000 square meter net show, then one meeting 1 week before, or if it is a 10,000 square meter show, you need 5 meetings and the meetings start 3 months before the show. So what would be your standard operating practice guideline to us?
I think more than numbers, what the merit is, how much of integration happens, how much of flow of information from one agency to the other agency carries on. So it's important to keep in touch. Whatever developments are happening have to be briefed to the exhibition contracting agency, and it has to be a seamless integration in terms of, I wouldn't say you need to do 5 meetings or 10 meetings or 20 meetings, because if you've not been able to translate into communication, information, dissemination, then you may have 50 meetings and the result will be, again, you're firefighting at the last minute and last hour. So what I would really recommend is that integration and information dissemination is important. You meet 2 times or 5 times is immaterial. It's important that you communicate it and communicate it well so that the other party understands it.
So 1 day before setup or a week before setup, what's
No,
your,
I would say
right
right from the time when you have put them on board. So you need to start telling them that what are the execution, requirements, and then it shouldn't boil down to the last minute that you're translating information at that point in time, that holding a meeting. The last day meeting should be basically to just touch and update on as to everything is in order. It shouldn't be information dissemination on the last day. Then we are all heading for chaos.
So for you, let's say, 1 month before or 15 days before?
No, I think there are changes which happen, even a fortnight before.
Okay, so when should we start talking?
So the time when you come on board, put the agency on board, is the time when you communicate it to them. And as the space sales keep on happening, things keep on developing, you keep on interacting. And the final thing I think should be about week 10 days in advance,
Yes.
so that there's some information if it is a show which is happening locally. In case if it's outstation, then of course you need to be much more prepared well in advance.
Yeah, this has been a big complaint by stand contractors that exhibition organizers ask them to come on board at the last minute, and this is a major pain point. So if exhibition organizers decide who they're going to work with well in advance, so as the show sales are progressing, the stand contracting companies can keep abreast with the development so that there is no sudden surprise and they can do seamless integration.
Yeah, at FICCI I think we do close to about 14 to 15 exhibitions in a year, and what we do is we have empaneled agencies with us which have been working for a couple of years now, and they have developed a relation with us in terms of they understand the requirement and execute it across. So we try and divide the work equally between the agencies, not overloading a particular agency. And then, we try and appoint them at the earliest so that the work then happens accordingly and they also know. And then we also try, one more thing that we've always done is that we try and repeat the agency for the next edition and so on and so forth, so that the mistakes which were done last time, they have a little room to repeat those mistakes. So we try and create those advantages there.
So you also talked about an online tracker that you have seen somewhere internationally. So is this branded software that is available?
No, online tracker can be developed, by any agency. We also do that, in-house. It's a simple Excel chart which is updated regularly and passed on to the exhibition agency also, so that we know the deadlines. It's basically an online. It's not an online. I would say it's a tracker which is completely kept abreast as to what are the developments, and keep on passing it on with the agencies, because when we do a show of as magnitude as Aero India and Defence Exposition with Ministry of Defence, so there are various timelines that have to be adhered to, and the limited time frames in which we execute. So that is when the tracker really helps in terms of communicating and in terms of executing.
So I think this tracker is a very important tool, and maybe that could be a call to the president of IEIA to look at developing a tracking kind of a mechanism which can be used by all exhibition organizers, because one thing that I was listening to is that stand contractors also work with different exhibition organizers who have different project managers and different style of working and different areas. So if we could standardize the operations part across most people, this could help speed up the time of when you set up and construct. My question to Binu is, you talked about the reduction of fatigue and well ventilation. Well lit, I think, goes beyond doubt that must be provided. But the reduction of fatigue, how can an exhibition organizer, we should put up canteen services for you there earlier, or as far as ventilation is concerned, we cannot start the air conditioning in the setup time. So what else can we do?
Ashish, I love you.
You love me.
I don't want to get tea from you. I don't want to get coffee from you. Okay. Nor my workers. And I love Mr. Praveen also, because if he can give all information 7 days in advance,
yes,
I'm sure that there is no problem for any, even for large exhibitions. So the crux of the matter is the communication. Okay, and this tracker is a very small thing, and I don't know how they did it, but for your knowledge, if you just create a Dropbox in the net, put all your information daily. If I have got access, you don't send me mails, and every day I can look at this thing, what you have changed, what I should do. Just do it in a Dropbox. It's almost, I think it's free. We do it.
I'll start trapping you now.
No issue. It's so easy. We don't have to create any
So
software.
do you use any tracking software for your own exhibitions that you are working on to monitor the progress? Because you are one of the
We
companies.
use Dropbox.
Okay.
Whenever the project changes, everybody in the company is aware of. The new exhibition has come. This is not happening. It's across the board. Everybody is understanding it. The same thing, I'll give access. You put your information there. I know it, in real time. It's not that I am looking at it next day. Dropbox is also available on your mobile phone.
Yes.
So you can do it. So you don't need a special software for that. But there is difference between what is happening abroad and what is happening here. The main thing what you are talking about is skill development. Our people are not skilled to the extent a German worker is. They all can read drawings. They all can read dimensions. They all can read finishes. What is mark plus finish, they can read. Our people still cannot do it. Half of them are illiterate, half of them are semi-educated. We need a supervisor to translate what is written in the drawing and the finishes and the colors to them. This is the main difference what we are talking about here. The fatigue thing what I talked about and the lighting, etc. may not be in this modern exhibition center, but various places where we go, the lighting is not enough. We need certain lux light here across this thing. Otherwise, it can cause to dangers, it can be risk for my people, etc. That's one thing. Second, especially when we are working in air-conditioned halls, you cannot air condition it, but you can use the blower. I cannot, I hope Hillary is not hearing it, he is outside the hall. I cannot go to Bombay Exhibition Center and enter and go and see Elakrama being constructed because it is so much dust and there is no ventilation. I got some health problems, I don't enter. I go to that gate, from there I see it's all happening, I go back to the hotel, come back next day after the passage carpeting is. Okay, I can go back, but my people cannot go back. Their health is at risk. Eventually they will also become
I think this calls for an immediate ban on wood cutting inside exhibition halls and spray painting and welding across the board. I think exhibition organizers, this is what Sujit was talking about, being a dictator, so as some kind of dictatorship must be implemented.
Can I?
Yes.
For what you are saying, a lot of investment is required. We are somewhat large in size, so we can invest in equipments, paint booths, etc. But the other 300 people currently working in exhibitions, they are not equipped. If you ask them to do certain things, which I am doing or another large company is doing here, they cannot cope it up. So you have to do all these things gradually. After next 2 years, you cannot do this thing. All the members of the service providers, please change. So let us work in a collaborative manner. Then everything will happen properly.
Sir, President Saab, we need to start talking this kind of language with our contractors, like Mr. Binu said that, okay, next. But I want to stand on this point with you in a very strong manner. You say you cannot enter the exhibition hall. Maybe your workers are doing this, but what about my exhibitors? The Indian exhibitors at the senior level, the international exhibitors, they also cannot enter that hall, and
I do the same. When I go to any of this
can I again intervene? My people are there for 300 days in a year. Ashish, you have to do it only 5 days in a year.
Agreed.
That's a major difference.
Agreed. So you're saying it's okay for 5 days, I can go and breathe that kind of air. Huh? So that's the kind of message I'm getting from you. But no, I think why should we breathe it even for 1 day? So some kind of drastic changes are required in the segment. Coming to Sujit's dictator, we talked about performance guarantee and timelines, and you work with all international exhibition organizers. So what kind of performance guarantees and timelines and the rules and regulations are enforced on you, and what kind of penalties are put on you internationally?
Well, talking about performance guarantee, that's a foremost and the basic thing which is there. A contract has to be signed, and based on that, everything moves on. Doing it for the last 15 years, we know that if we do anything wrong like this, we're bound to lose a lot of money. It could be around 20% or 50%, whatever is laid back money we'll never get back. So therefore, we have to ensure that we give the standover or the handing over almost a day before. Because that's the time when the clients is going to come in. If the stall is not ready, believe you me, they're going to throw their heads off. I do a lot of these speculative campaigns internationally. For example, I do South Africa Pavilion abroad. You would say, well, how am I going to pitch there? I'm one of these 15 agencies abroad which goes and pitches for South Africa Pavilion, which participates in the World Tourism Congress. This speculative campaign happens in London. Therefore, what we do, if all the around 15 people, 15 international agencies fly in there, and we make our presentations there, we are all aware of the norms which is going to be followed. right? If we get the job, which I've done it almost 2 or 3 times across for the last 10 years in Berlin and London and various other places for South Africa. And for that matter, even Qatar pavilions, Qatar has the money, right? They get the best exhibition agencies to bid for it. No talks about money at all. They get the best designs, right? But the delivery schedule has to be a day before. Come what may. They're not bothered in terms of, the day has been given 2 or 3 of our move-in days. You need to schedule yourself. You need to plan yourself. That's the way we talk about a dictator who knows exactly all the checklist, every minute checklist of how the things is going to happen. Now, if you ask any person at my, the person who I would have sublet my job to in Germany or in London, he would know exactly what time what will finish. If the client comes and says, I would be coming back in 2 hours' time, will this area be finished? If he says yes, it would be. Because that's a kind of, I would say, decorum we have to follow. That's a kind of stress we also have in terms of finishing it at that time. We don't have a chaloga attitude at all. We cannot find a jugaad there. We have to do it the way it has to be done and the right proper way, because the contracts are very strong there. The performance guarantees are very strong. No letbacks, buddy. So everything has to be very planned and no last minute changes, as you talked about, that 6 hours changes or something, which we don't accept at all, because we'll say, yes, this was done and this will what will be delivered.
So I come to Vikram. Would you like to, just say a few words that could be suggestions to exhibition organizers and to stand contractors as to how we can do this together? And like this, I will just pass on to everybody for the closing remarks, and I think we're running out of time, so we should wrap it up quickly.
Hello.
Yeah.
I just want to highlight what Mr. Mittal said a while back, that they have an empanelment of contractors. So Mr. Mittal, this is a question to every organizer. How do you select your contractors? Is it L1 the only criteria? The one who has the lowest rate, he is deemed to be a contractor? How much technical input is being looked into selecting the contractor?
That's a trade secret.
No, this is not only to Mr. Mittal, but this is to the organizer.
What is a good practice of empaneling
I think
a contractor?
it's a mix of both. It has to be a mix of both.
Mix of both.
Because
yes, mix of both.
Yeah.
You see, if L1 is the only criteria, as far as the cost is concerned,
L1 only the criteria,
then
because
we'll have these kinds of pitfalls in the executions. Absolutely. There'll be shortcuts.
No. We've never gone for L1 as the only criteria, because that can really be a disastrous situation. If L1 was the criteria, we wouldn't have been actually sitting here.
But often
it has been always a mix of the technical expertise, the ability to deliver a show, the pricing is, yes, an important factor, because I think the venue owners, they make their own money. The exhibition executing agencies make their own money. The exhibitors want the best price. So it's the organizer which has to maintain the entire balance. Now, as an exhibition organizing agency, I would say it can never be L1 as the only criteria. It has to be a complete mix of technical expertise to be able to deliver an exhibition of the magnitude what it is. And of course, pricing is an important factor. So it's a combination of everything.
Yeah, it has to be a combination. That's what I believe.
It has
in
to
fact,
be a combination.
Because if L1 is a criteria, maybe not in your organization, but other organizations, then these kinds of pitfalls we'll see. These shortcuts we'll see. These, maybe what you call side disasters.
Yeah.
We'll see that.
Obviously. In fact, you may recall, immediately after PBD, you executed Ministry of Water Resources for us.
Yes.
So L1 was never the criteria.
That's why it was executed on time, before time.
Would you like to say a few words as any suggestions to the exhibition organizers? And
I'll just add on to what Praveen was saying, that it is not only the price as well as the work pressure of the particular vendor or the service provider or the service partner that needs to be looked at. Suppose we are giving some work to company A, and that company A is doing at that same point of time during my exhibition, there is other venue also where the company is also executing a huge exhibition or some project. So company A may be the best in the business, but stretching it too much would be a disaster. So in that point of time, I think as an exhibition organizer, we should go to company B, so that company A is not too stretched and both the exhibition or both the projects can walk hand in hand, and there is no problem in both the places. So that is how. And then again, the only thing is that for us in Auto Expo, we give information or we choose our service partner at least 7 months prior to the event. I think we did it last time. Our exhibition was in February. We have chosen all our service partners in June. So given that lead time, all the service partners are geared up. They know what to do, and we are trying to do the same thing this time so that things are into place, and there is no problem in organizing the scale of exhibition that we do. So that's how I think the proper planning and proper time, given the time factor, because I think Mr. Benu is not only be doing our job, he will be doing probably 10 other companies' job as well. So he needs to have his time and resource properly placed in for executing all the job that he has at the same point of time. So that proper time planning needs to be done, and a proper execution plan needs to be in place to have a successful exhibition.
So is there any questions in the audience that would like to ask any of our panelists? So you can please put up your hands, or if you want to give any suggestions. There's one question right here, Bala from BIEC. I knew we would wake you up when we said you have good systems and get your attention. Yeah, Mr. Sethi is not there, otherwise there would be a second question there.
Binu, that was an impressive presentation on what are the solutions that you are adopting, to overcome the hassle that many of the exhibitions organizers or venue owners face. One simple question, because many times we have been facing the challenge, because we've been, as a recently been accredited the IMS certification, we take a lot of steps into how do we enforce, exhibitors or organizers into using wood in the exhibitions, wood cutting, or so that they bring prefab structure into the exhibition. Like how Sujit also mentioned, in India only the kind of amount of wood which is used, it is clearly visible and evident, whereas internationally it's not seen. In any large exhibition you go, there are only those structures which has been used. Absolutely. So what is the acceptability of the exhibitors in terms of cost and delivery when you give those solutions? These are solutions which I'm sure that will come with a cost which is going to be slightly higher than the conventional cost. So how do you, because many times what happens when we ask the exhibitor, he says, "Hamara stand contractor ne design diya aise." And when you ask the stand designer, "Why did you give the design like this?" He says, "Unhone manga aise." So it's both of them put the ball on each other's court. So that it is not that we have asked, they have asked for it. So how do you overcome that situation?
There are 2-3 questions in the same question. One is what he talked about wood. Wood is a material which is going out of exhibition system. Probably in 2 or 3 years you will see very little wood, maybe 15%, 20%. It will give way to fabrics and other materials. It is happening. It will happen. This thing you will still see some platforms and etc. etc. So I think that problem what you were talking about wood will go away. It's not only for you, it is also for us. It is very cumbersome. It's a wasteful experience thing. It is ecologically bad. So I think it is on its way out. If you go to any large exhibition in Germany, you can see that most of the structures are fabric. Yeah, and most of it can be reused. Some of it cannot be reused, but most of it can be reused. One, cost. Currently the costs are higher than wood for the structures because all the fabrics are being imported. The machinery which is used in CNC cutting or something is costing up to 3 crores of rupees. So currently it is higher, like any technology which is coming in. When it comes in, it is costly, and over the years, the price will go down. So I think a stage of equilibrium will come when everybody will start shifting from wood to these new materials. What was the third part? Sorry.
No, what is acceptable? How do you convince the exhibitor to adopt these kind of solutions which are little expensive? What are the challenges that you have overcome, and what are the how do you convince them? Actually, that's more important for because that's what we also face a situation there where exhibitors say that it's very expensive. If you're going from wood to the conventional system, it's going to be very expensive.
No, everything has got a value. It's not just you should not just look at price. Everything has got a value of you are paying slightly more there, but it is more convenient. It is giving you more finish. As I said earlier, the final or the only use of exhibitions is communication. It's a means of communication. You are creating a very complicated structure which is looking ugly, does not help your image. So it will come with education. This kind of seminars, I have been an advocate of education seminars based for designs, materials, technologies, etc., etc. I just gave a snapshot here. The second is another one important thing is that you have to develop some standard operating procedure, an organizer and the fabricator. And SOP should be there. There should be charts, there should be timelines, there should be milestones. You just bother about the milestones and forget the rest of it. It will happen. What is happening in South, sometimes I come there, I get scared about the kind of structures they make, the kind of mezzanine they make. I really get scared of it. Again, there should be a system. How much load can it take? How much load can a mezzanine take? What should be the structural certification for that? When we do a sports event or something like that, there is a standardization for even the bars which we place here. Even if a football is being played and the goal is there, everybody will lean forward. So that should take so much load. There's a calculation for that. All these standards should come into the field of exhibitions. Then a lot of problems what you are facing will go. But it's a gradual process. What I told is a change from over 35 years which I have been seeing. From the time I was sending the faxes and what's that called? I'm forgetting the name, how I used to send it. And telex and the courier we are waiting for, to digital things and we transfer and send it, etc., etc. That's a snapshot of changes which I said.
Yeah, Anbu, you want to?
Yeah, very quick intervention. Binu, if you can make the process faster, what Bala said, he'll give you business.
Pardon?
He will give you business if you make the process faster. So I think those are golden words. Any other questions out there? Yeah, the President wants to ask. So how can we?
Now there's a growing concern
Yes, sir.
for the Go Green.
Go green, yes.
Yeah. So basically to minimize the environmental impact through carbon footprint and carbon neutrality approach. So are we really working in that direction? Because ultimately in the next 5 years, I think that is going to be one major issue.
So who wants to take this question? Okay, Binu.
Sir, most of the things are green. When you say wood, it is MDF being used. Particle board which is used. That is green. It's not a plywood or very hardly any wood comes into this one. I talked about digital printing, etc. It's again ecologically, ecologically sanctioned prints and things which we are using. So most of the things what is happening here is green. These lights, this time you have placed LED lights. It is consuming 1/4 or 1/10 of the power that it was consuming earlier. So everything is changing. It is going towards green automatically.
At the same time, the carbon footprinting is also concerned about the carbon neutrality. Because even whatever material you take out from the complex, where you are going to dispose of, what exactly is going to be recycled. So all these issues are also going to be there. Maybe I think for that we need a separate session. And
Yeah,
it's a requirement coming very fast now.
This is a session for the future. So yes, Mr. Agarwal, can you get a mic there quickly? Actually, I want to take a mic and come down to all the stand contractors and ask for your one-line suggestions on how we could do this. So do we have stand contractors in the room? Any more stand contractors in the room? One hand went up. Two, any more? So I want to come to you, or if you can come closer. I want everybody's one-line suggestion, and then I will go to some exhibition organizers also for this. But till then, Mr. Agarwal, till then, can you please, stand contractors, please come little in front, so we can quickly get your one-liners on how we can implement faster exhibitions in less turnaround time. Mr. Agarwal, please.
Hello, check.
This one's working.
Sorry about that. Just a general question. In the experience of you guys, you see the annual contracting is the best way, or a long-term relationship like, first right to
Annual
refusal?
contracting or long-term contracting? Very good question.
Which one works better, or how, what is the best practice, so to say?
I am loving this audience more and more.
You love this audience more and more.
See, what Mr. Mittal said, if one company is doing an event again and again, it's just like it's an annual contract, they know the problems, they know the pitfalls, it becomes easier.
Yeah.
So I think if you can enter into an annual contract, not only annual contract, enter into a 3-year contract with somebody.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Not the pros and cons. In your experience, generally, what works
I
in
think
your case, or what is your experience? What is the practice?
Yeah, repeating the same agency definitely works in favor, because they know what was the problem at the last edition, and they can actually work towards improving it, number one. The second thing is, again, you have to balance out. Now, supposedly that X agency is busy and has picked up another project. But then generally the organizations with whom we work, they all know that this is a cyclic event or a biennial event. So they kind of factor their manpower accordingly, so that they're able to take on that workload. They balance out their work accordingly. So I think it's a mix of relationship.
So you give preference to the last agency, basically.
We try and source
They
out
try to
in
repeat,
that way,
yes.
so that unless and until the last agency was a disastrous.
And
the last
for the Auto
edition.
Expo, the same, more or less?
Yes, it's the same more or less, because we would like to use the same service partner, because we have had an extensive research before we have done the Auto Expo in 2 different venues, and accordingly we have chosen the best possible in our we say that who or should be our service partner, and we would like to carry on with them, because they know where are the problems earlier. They may make some other mistake, but not the same mistake probably.
Thank you.
So,
Let me just end on this, is that we all know this proverb, a known enemy is better than unknown friend, so his pitfalls.
known devil is better than
No, but that doesn't mean that we don't give opportunity to the other exhibition organizing, contracting agencies. We definitely give them an opportunity that how we can better it across, and we are open to the idea of working the newer partners also.
I would like to comment on this one. It is not just one exhibition. If you can sign a three event contract with somebody, 5 event contract with somebody, then that person will be willing to invest for you. If you look at the large stalls which is built in Frankfurt Motor Show or Tokyo Motor Show, it's the same company who has been doing for Mercedes for the last 20 years. They are investing into the company, they are stocking their material and reusing it. It helps both.
I think the example is the IIJS we do in Bombay, isn't it? Yeah. We are doing it for 3 years continuously for the same stall, so it makes a lot of difference. I have invested in the double stories there, which can be again and again used for the same reason.
So I think, there's huge pressure on time, and this conversation can go on. Actually, I wanted everybody's feedback. But,
Hello? Yeah. You have the mic? Yeah, please.
Good evening, everyone. Sarabjit Dara, this side from Dara Projects. Actually, we are the target company of Ashish ji, particularly from past many old
Hello,
sessions.
this is a trap game, Binu saying I'm trapping him, and you're saying you're trapping me.
No, it's not like that. On our, all royal, panelists, we are sitting over there. We are the only stand construction company, and few are there who are not presently here right now. We do the basic bulk construction in the leading exhibitions. When a target comes of, let's say, 10,000 square meters of covered area, 15,000 square meters of covered area, there our services are required, And at that time, when we have been instructed to construct of area of 5,000 square meters in just 3 days prior to the inauguration of the show, the same show is being told us to dismantle in overnight, Earlier we used to get 3 days. Now it's being lesser down to only just 2 days. 1 day we get for the setup, and next day is for the clients who are coming and taking the possession of the stalls.
Exactly.
So in just 1 day, we are depending on our logistics, on our transporters, on our workers, let's say 50 odd or 100 people, In that case, we have such a huge chance of making errors. Somewhere or the other, I'm sending my materials from Delhi to Ahmedabad, even Bombay. my trucks halt in between, maybe because of taxation reasons, maybe because of the breakdown of the truck. Huge responsibility is put on us. The only solution which I feel is the time element. If we've been given little extra time, like earlier we used to get, no doubt again, price of the venues have been increased so much that our organizers can also not take the burden of giving 3-4 extra days. But at least shows can be planned in such a way that after the dismantling of one show, we get a time of at least 1 day to clear off our materials from the venue. In that 1 day, we can do the marking of the next show, which is being followed. Marking is very important here. Just one small example I would like to quote. 2 months back, we did a big show in this same neat venue. We've been told to put 16,000 square meters of temporary hangars in mere 6 days. 4 hangars was there. So you see, on an average, I got 2 days for constructing 1 hangar. Not even 2 days, less than that. 7th day was the possession of the all hangars in ready format. And that month was January end. You can imagine the peak of the winters in Delhi. All aluminium structures are there. They are required to be erected with, big cranes and everything. So see how much quantity of work we are performing under tremendous pressure to deliver on time. So if a show is planned almost 2 years back or 1 year back, why not to select those dates which are relatively free and plan accordingly so that we've been given chance to perform our best services within a given well set time. That's the point.
Mr. Devashish, you want to react to this quickly?
Yes.
We have to close this now.
The biggest problem here in India that we have only 4 months actual time for exhibitions. It starts from November till February end probably.
Yes.
Now goes on till March and is from September. But even then, if we see that we have only 6 months time for exhibition in India, so getting all the exhibition into squeezing in that point of time, I think that's where the scarcity of exhibition halls and the dates, availability of dates comes into play.
So I think with the permission of the President and the convener, I'd like to call this session to an end by just quickly summarizing whatever our panelists said. So one is increased communication between stakeholders, very, very important. If your contractor is not willing to come for a meeting, you force him to come for a meeting, because I tell you, these contractors, they're doing 200 shows in a year, whereas exhibition organizers doing 1 to 10. So they are so busy, they say, हाँ, हमको सब आता है. Especially when, as Mr. Agarwal said, should we repeat a contractor? So he says, I know the same people, कोई बात नहीं, meeting की ज़रूरत नहीं है. So please force your contractor to come for meetings. Have an online tracking system or some kind of a tracking system. Think empathetically about all your stakeholders. This is for exhibition organizers as to how they will do it, how will their manpower do it, and try to walk a little extra mile, that because you're asking them to walk an extra mile for you. So, things like ventilation or, well-lit halls, very, very important points. For the stand contractors, the time is up. Invest in modern equipment and train your manpower. Even if they don't know how to read and write, they all know how to use and operate equipment. So please get them to do that. For the exhibition organizers, please train your project managers. It's not possible to train 200 laborers or 300 laborers, but your one project manager, make sure he is educated, well experienced, and train him properly so that when he's the leader of your show, he can do very strong communication and get everything done. In your contracts, build better, stronger contracts, put in performance guarantees. I would also go ahead to say incentivize for quick and timely installation rather than always think about penalty for late, because for us, late delivery and penalty has no value. Unfortunately, exhibition organizers have to deliver on time, every time. And as Mr. Vikram said, look at your contractors very, very intelligently. L1 should not be the criteria. So may I request the audience to please join me in giving a big round of applause to our panelists for their time. So thank you very much, and the stage is back to Mridu.
Well, it's a given that if the stall of the exhibitor is not done up aesthetically, it's not appealing or attractive, then it definitely leaves a very, very bad impression. And from the other point of view, the execution has to be very fast, smooth, timelined, and well-planned. We had many good suggestions here, many nice solutions. Apprising us of this side of the story were our eminent panelists with many, many years of experience behind them. And I thank all of them, especially the moderator, Mr. Ashish Gupta, for moderating this session very well. We'd like to present mementos to all our panelists. A memento for the moderator, Mr. Ashish Gupta. Mr. Vikram Soni. Mr. Praveen Kumar Mittal. Mr. Nanu Binu. Here. Mr. Devashish Majumdar. And Mr. Sujit Gopal.
Can I get a group photograph, please?
So that was the last session of the day. I request Mr. Rakesh to please come on stage, President IEIA. And I also request him to make a special announcement. Let me also take this opportunity to inform you all that cocktail, dinner and cultural program is scheduled at 7:30 this evening. Please join us for the same.